some intros can be really annoying, while other ones are just like quick and to the point. Or like some TV shows, some intros you just skip over on Netflix.
Right.
Other intros, you'll watch it.
Right.
You know, like The Office, iconic. You're gonna watch that whole thing probably.
I'm hearing it right now in my head.
You know, Parks and Rec, doo-doo-doo.
Yeah.
That's The Office. Or How I Met Your Mother. Ba-da-da-ba-ba.
Okay.
You know, you might...
Friends,
exactly. You might sit and listen to that one. Yeah, and like sing along to it.
Yeah.
But, holy crap, that's really high. I forgot that I had this gain up.
Oh, no.
Oh, well. But, so that's our intro. You know, we might have like a quick jingle of my... Scientifically, it gets the brain to like focus in. Yeah,
okay.
Or like whenever some podcasts will like switch subjects in the midst of the podcast, it'll like have a little jingle to get your brain like, oh, aware. It's like when your classroom teacher like slams his hand down on the desk.
Yes.
Transitioning. Yeah. Transition.
That's gonna be our signal.
Okay.
Just really loudly just say transition.
I'm cool with that.
Okay.
All right. So what are we doing today?
We are, besides talking about introductions, we are introducing ourselves to the audience at large and talking about us and our experiences in the wild.
Yes. Are you doing those as the same podcast? Or are those separate podcasts? Episodes?
I don't know.
Let's just see what happens.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they can be the same. I feel like if we have more experiences to share, then they can just be on the next one too.
Okay.
You know, like it'll flow.
Most people don't say this, but we're just recording 2 episodes at once today. So when you listen to the next episode, it was literally recorded right after this episode. We didn't wait a while. We just recorded it, and you're like, but what? Or other episodes you might listen to, and you're like, but it was a week apart. We recorded that sucker right after the other one, probably.
Right.
But today we're talking about ourselves and who we are. That way, when you listen to this, you don't just get a gradual understanding of who we are, like we're some long Netflix TV show where you have to
unpack every bit.
Yeah, where you have to slowly unpack it throughout multiple episodes and seasons. Yes. No, we're like the typical cable pilot that they're not really sure about, and they want everyone to introduce themselves in the pilot.
We're putting all our cards on the table.
We're putting all of it on the table.
Yeah.
This is who we are. Hope you like it.
Absolutely. So I guess we're doing this now.
I guess so.
Okay, so welcome to episode 2 of the Burrito podcast, talking about us and who we are and what we do and why we love the wilderness. So, Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, who you are, why you love the wilderness.
I feel like I love the wilderness because my ancestors grew up in the wilderness.
As did mine. As
did yours. I think that we as humans had a direct tie to nature in the wilderness. We have a direct link to it. Something in our bones and our bodies tell us that that's where we belong.
Feels natural.
It feels natural to us. Studies have shown that even in office spaces, if you just have greenery in the office, if on your computer screen, if your screensaver or your background is a tree, even that itself can enhance your attitude and your mood.
Really?
Yeah, it's 100%. In the Apple, they just built this entirely insanely new building, and it's like this big circle. Looks like the Pentagon except a circle. And in the middle of it, that's how it works. Yeah. In the middle of it is a bunch of green space for people to go take breaks and everything. And I would assume that the Pentagon is potentially the same way.
Is the rest of the building like sterile white in Apple fashion? Like
I think so. Like stainless steel.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah. Or they take up like 3 storefronts in the mall to have like one long table with like 6 iPhones on it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
It's a bunch of empty space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, so I think we're just super connected with nature, and I forget how this relates to me, but that's why I love nature so much essentially is because I think
in your blood.
Because it's in my blood, it's in my brain, it's in my body. Carl Jung had this whole idea that like our ancestors' memories are still in our DNA. And that's why we're afraid of snakes when we see a snake for the first time.
Right.
When a dog, you can point something dangerous at a dog and it instantly knows at times that it's dangerous.
Right.
It sees a flame and it gets spooked.
Right.
Sometimes, and you're like, we've never seen, like I did that to my cat the other day. I lit a lighter and put it up to its face.
Is this something you want to talk to the public about?
Yeah, everyone does it. We got a new kitten, and I was like, I wonder how this kitten would react to a flame. And so I lit the lighter,
right,
and I held it up, and he kind of like sniffed at it for a second. I even like pulled back a little bit to make sure he didn't like burn his nose. But yeah, he was instantly worried about it. And I was like, why does he know? Like, does he feel the heat? Like, cats like heat.
Right.
But it's like seeing this weird flame. And so, yeah, we in our DNA just have this sense about nature and our past history and everything. And as a young kid, my parents and my grandparents loved nature as well. My dad, he would take me fishing all the time. And my grandparents loved going hiking. They actually lived right behind a national state park called Fern Cliff in Illinois, around Goreville, if you know where that's at. But we'd walk in the backyard, and there were like little tiny cliffs. There was a huge waterfall that we'd like sit on the edge of, like look over, because we were so afraid. And yeah, it was just really fun. You'd see like old rusted cars there. Right. From whenever there was a town. Right. And people drove around that area. Now it's all woods or something. I mean, it was really cool, and it just always sparked my attention. We had a little rope swing from this little cliff that we'd swing off of and everything, and it was super sketchy. Right. And by the time I hit junior high, we swung off of it, and it finally broke on us. Like my cousin's in mid-swing, and there's like a little loop that you sit in, and it snaps on him. And luckily, he was holding tight enough that he didn't fall off the cliff. Dang. And swung back. But, I mean, yeah. So that's kind of like who I am from a child and growing up in it. And then just over the years, I think I had this profound experience of being out in nature on this backpacking trip for my school. And it was probably like the hardest trip I've ever been on. Yeah. Because a girl like broke her foot, I think. Oh. Like I think her foot was already broken before she went on the trip. Smart. Yeah. And then she went on the trip, and we were rock climbing one day, and she hurt her foot rock climbing.
The broken foot girl decided to also rock climb?
Yeah. She went rock climbing, and afterwards we had to instantly hike straight up a hill. Nice. To get to the ridge. And it was steep. Right. Like, it wasn't just like a gradual switchback. It was just straight up the sucker. Right. Well, we had a crew of like 11 guys and then this one girl. And all these guys were like, well, we're going to race really quick up to like the top of the hill. And that way we can get to the ridge real quick. Not realizing this girl had like hurt her foot real bad. Oh. And then they're wondering why me and her and the two guides are staying back. So one guy finally comes down and is like, hey, is everything okay? And we're like, no, like she like hurt her foot really bad. And he's like, okay, like I'm gonna go get the guys and we're gonna come back down and like get her. Right. They didn't come back. Oh. And I'm just like, where are these guys at? And the guides come back up to me and they're like, hey, where's everyone at? And I'm like, they went up the hill, they said they were going to the ridge and they're gonna put all their packs down and they come back and get us and like help her. And he was like furious about it. Yeah. Really upset about it. And he and the other guide, with their packs on, threw her, and then gave me her pack, I think, and threw her arms, around their shoulders, and carried her. Right. Almost up the entire, probably half of it. Finally, we get halfway up. The guys finally come back without their packs, because they set them down. And he just this guy just chewed into them hardcore. I was so happy I was not one of those guys. Because I want to impress people so badly. Right. That I was so happy. Selfishly in my brain, I was thinking, I made the right choice. Right. I was like, I did good. And so anyway, he tore into everyone and But I still felt a little selfish too, because like I wasn't necessarily helping her at the same time. But yeah, after that though, we all became like a family. Like after that, we all became super tight with each other. They ended up carrying her up like the rest of the hill. We like supported her the entire way, got her this like awesome tree cane,
Yeah.
you know, to use. And she got to feeling better pretty quick. But yeah, like after that night, after that little moment, we just all became a family. And it was one of those big moments where I realized like how much the wilderness can do for you and how much it can teach you.
Yeah.
And I had my own bad experiences. Like there's a moment where we were sitting around the campfire and that same girl is telling this really like bad, like awful, hard story about her life.
Right.
You know, like being very vulnerable. And I'm sitting right next to her after this really long day, like passing out.
Oh.
Yeah. We're sitting around the campfire and my eyes are just like going down, waking up, going down, waking up, going down. And the guy looks at me and he goes, Nick, like she's being very vulnerable right now and you can't keep your eyes open. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Who is this guy just calling everybody out?
Dude,
I like this guy.
He was a great guy. Like we talked a lot that trip.
Yeah.
And he was very cool. I wish I could remember his name off the top of my head. The lady who was with us, her name's Leah. And they were part of Discovery Ministries in Eminence, Missouri.
Okay.
And dude, it's amazing. You have to go through that program or like a spiritual formation class in order to even graduate from Ozark.
Wow.
Yeah. So you either take this like stiffy class in a classroom over January term and it sucks. Or you go backpacking for 10 days, rock climbing, caving, canoeing, you know, like cooking your own meals over a fire.
Right.
Obviously, that was the way to go.
Yeah, there's no
But
choice.
it sucked really bad at the same time.
Totally. It's type 2 fun.
Yeah,
Type 2 fun.
exactly. So I'll talk more about me, but that's where a lot of my passion at least comes from.
Yeah.
So that's part of my passion about me. What about you?
It's in your blood.
Yeah.
And, you know, wilderness is something that innately as humans we're drawn to. We're all, you know, if we don't enjoy being out in the wilderness, which I know a lot of people don't, you're at least innately interested in what's out there.
Yes.
And in the natural world. And, you know, we see beauty in the natural world so easily. We all recognize what's a beautiful scenery. We all recognize that waterfalls are amazing. We all recognize that cliffs and mountains are majestic. You know, we get that. Like, we all have this common experience that the wilderness intrigues us, terrifies us, excites us, all at the same time, you know? And, you know, I feel like I share that too, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I've always been drawn to risk, adventure. I feel like even since I was little, you know, when I was little, running around out in the backyard and all that stuff, I was always doing risky behavior and things like that. And then, I don't know, adventure for me, there's inherent risk in it by definition. And, you know, adventure programming was a great career choice for me. That's the obvious thing that I wanted to do. And I grew up outside. My parents took me camping, you know, every summer, every spring, basically when it was warm out, sometimes when it was cold, but mostly when it was warm. You know, we went camping, we went caving, we did all the standard adventure stuff. The only thing we didn't do was rock climbing because my parents weren't climbers, but I got into that later on when I got into college. But why? Like, why do I want to be outside so much? Why do I want to go in the wilderness? I feel like you said, it's innate, but to me, it's more than that. It's like what humans were meant to do. It's like we were meant to live in such a way that was a little bit simpler than how we live now. You know, life, to me at least, seems so complicated with everything you have to keep up with and all the busyness and like all the red tape. You know, all the hoops you have to jump through to be in society, and it just feels like the wilderness just calls you. You know, it's like, come out here, be simple, be a man, be a woman, be, you know, a human, simply out in nature, you know, enjoy it, survive in it, you know, and don't worry so much about all the things that you think you're worried about. You know, like people are worried like, oh, I won't get to sleep in my bed tonight. It's so comfy. I'm worried about that. Well, it's like, you know, don't be anxious about that. Like, accept that, you know, understand that maybe, you know, humans for generations were meant to be outside sleeping under the stars and enjoy that. You know, It's like your attitude. And I don't know, the simplicity of being outside and feeling fully natural, feeling like a full human, it's hard to put into words.
Yeah.
But there's something special about that. There's something special about being totally independent and totally self-reliant out in nature. Because modern day life, you're so interdependent on everything and everyone else. The grocery store for your food, the car to get you places, the landlord to give you a house over your head. And it's like you're so dependent on everyone and everything else. And it's like, are you just a cog in the machine?
Right.
Or are you a human? And it's like when I get to go back out into nature and recharge, where like my survival and my enjoyment is totally dependent on me as a person. Like I feel most in control and most free when I'm out there in that wilderness. And, I guess I didn't really realize that that's how I felt until right now when I put it into words, but yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But that is how I feel. It's a freedom, in knowing how to be out there and thriving out there. There's a freedom in that that you don't necessarily feel in the civilized, everyday life. And that's not saying that like civilization is bad or anything like that. Like I enjoy my life here with my wife and with my friends and school and education and all that's great and it's necessary, but you can't enjoy those things and not realize where you came from. You can't enjoy those things and take advantage of all those great technologies and all the great privileges that we have in advanced society without returning to the roots, to like we're built, our society and our civilization, our technology is built upon nature. It's built upon survival. It's built upon, our ancestors and what they went through. And you have to return to that because you got to understand, like we built these things because we lived this way earlier. I don't know, it gives you appreciation and, an inspiration and respect for what you have. I don't know, I guess very verbose way of saying that I like being outside.
Oh my gosh. I told Katie, I said, I think I was talking to her, maybe you, but someone was talking about like, the end of the world, what would happen if things just like civilization just got like wiped out.
Right.
Or all of our technology was gone.
Right.
We would be okay.
Yeah.
At least some of us would be okay. There's some who just live off of technology and all like air conditioning, refrigerators, all of these things that have only been recently given to us in history.
In a generation.
For such like 3 or 4 people ago, they didn't have refrigerators.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
That was not a thing.
Yeah.
Like in your house, maybe like a couple people ago, a couple generations ago, not everyone had a refrigerator.
Right.
Like Steven Pinker, he talks about how like the poorest of poor in America are so wealthy compared to people like in the 17th century.
Yeah.
Or the 18th century or whatever else.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just, we just keep becoming more and more technologically advanced in everything in our society, that if things went down and we lost all of our technology and we had to live in like tents and cabins out in the wilderness without flushing toilets and everything, we would be okay.
Right.
But we would quickly realize how horrible it is in a way. How good we had it.
How inconvenient at least.
Yeah, how inconvenient and good we had it now.
Right.
And then we would eventually realize, oh, I'm like way happier. Yeah. At least hopefully most people would realize, wow, I don't have to get an email from my boss right now. Like, this is awesome. Like, I don't have my boss yelling down my throat right now. Like, this is great. Oh, I'm actually like fishing with my kids to survive. Right. This is great, Yeah,
and it's like, the convenience of everything in modern technology is great, and I'm not trying to say that it's better for us all to be subsistence farmers or anything like that. I'm not Wendell Berry, but I do admire Wendell Berry and his ideas. But, there is something to that. There's something to, like, how depressed people are and how anxious people are nowadays, because there's a lot of pressure on us to be a certain way and to live a certain lifestyle. And like you said, like refrigerators and soft beds and our big homes, they're not necessary to live, to survive, but they are necessary to be accepted in our society.
Right.
Because it's like I can't not have a car and keep my job.
Yeah.
And I can't not have a refrigerator and afford groceries. And so it's something where it's like, yes, these are conveniences to have, but it's like our culture makes them requirements.
Right.
And so like even if you want to choose to live a different way, it's more difficult.
Yeah.
It's more difficult for you to not have these conveniences than it is to have them. You know? And like at that point, are they conveniences anymore? You know? Because it's like you're required to have them now. So it's like, I don't know. It's an odd thing where we've built so high up in civilization. We've built so high up in our civilization, in our society, that it's like we're expected to live a certain way. And I'm sure, you know, throughout history we were always expected to live a certain way, but I feel like it's more stringent now almost because like, you know, you have to have these things. You have to live this way. You have to be in the suburbs. You have to, you know.
Right. Well, to be like, we're wanting to develop our business.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not just competing with people in Wilmore, Lexington, Nicholasville. We're not just competing with people around our area. We're literally competing with America.
Yeah.
Like all over because of social media.
Yeah.
We can't just post flyers necessarily.
Yeah.
We have to post Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. You know, it's not like back in the day. It was like, oh, let's post a flyer, and that was cutting edge.
Right.
People were like, oh my gosh, flyers? Like, this guy is nuts. Like, this guy is crazy. This guy is doing great because he's posting flyers. He'd hold a business seminar. He'd be like, guys, your business isn't growing.
Advertising.
Why? Flyers.
Yeah. Advertising.
It's the new thing.
Yeah, but no, that goes to like, you know, where you know the people in your surrounding area. You know, you know the people that live next to you because you rely on each other. Like, you know, if I needed help adding a new addition to my home, you know, I go to my neighbor and be like, hey, can you lend me a hand this weekend? And we'll build something together, you know, or I'll build a stable, we'll build something. Nowadays, like, I don't even know who my neighbors are. You know, it's like you don't, because you don't rely on each other as much. We're required to be more self-sufficient, but at the same time, totally not independent, totally dependent. Yeah. So like we're self-sufficient in the fact that we're expected to take care of ourselves, but we're dependent in the fact that corporations take care of us.
Yeah.
Or it's like I buy my food from a corporation, I buy my car from a corporation, I buy my house from a corporation. Yeah, everything. Like I buy my things that I'm required to live from people I don't know. Right. While at the same time alienating myself from people I do know. Yeah. And you know, what does that do to people? Yeah. I don't know, because you know, we're alienating ourselves from our neighbors, and we're less reliant on our neighbors.
You know what I think it really does? I think just to get out of all like the intensity of it. Yeah. I think what it really does is it has created us a very intense lack of self-confidence in ourselves.
Yeah, it's probably
It's caused us to not really know like our full potential because we rely on so many other people in our lives that we never have to rely on ourselves in some ways. I don't have to rely on myself to go milk a cow.
Yeah, at least for survival.
Or to even keep a cow.
Basic needs.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't have to do all that. All I have to do is go to work, make money, understand how to, like, distribute that properly, go to the store where everything is, like, perfect.
And somebody gives it to you.
Someone gives it to me. Right. And I just come home and throw it in my refrigerator that pretty much now comes with every house that you buy. Right. You know, use my stove that comes with I don't have to be good at making a fire. Right. So, I mean, your skill set has become much more specified, you know, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like our skill sets are much more specific to the things that we do. Right. You know, like I went to school to be an educator. You know, I went 4 years in college to learn how to teach kids, right? I didn't go to college to learn how to teach kids and build the schoolhouse and feed the animals out back and, you know, like all that. Yeah. Like I went to school just to learn how to teach kids. And that's good because now I'm really good at teaching kids, but it's also bad because like, you know, if my roof breaks, well, now I have to go to another person and apprentice from them and understand how to fix my roof and all that stuff. When back in the day, your mom and dad, you know, would teach you how to build your roof because they built theirs. Yeah. You know, something like that. So things are more specific and there's more knowledge, I'd say, in different areas. But there's so much knowledge now that it's not as, you know, you're not required to know all of it, which is good and bad. I agree. Yeah. So you and I, we have so much of this passion in ourselves. Obviously, we just went on like a big like rant.
Yeah, huge rant on why outdoors is great.
We just went on a big rant about why the outdoors is great and why it's the best for us. With that passion, what are you doing now? You know, like all your life you've had this passion. What did you do with it?
Right.
just to talk about yourself more, like, what did you do with your passion?
Well, before college, I, loved being outside and went on various trips for myself to help, find myself and pray and, understand who I was and all that, and just enjoy, being outside and living that freedom. And when I did go to college, before I went to college, I was a missionary in Honduras, which is a little country in Central America, and they speak Spanish there. And I lived in the capital there, Tegucigalpa, and I worked with street kids and ex-gang members. And I was 18 at the time, so I don't really know what I was doing. But, I was working with an organization that did know what they were doing, so that was great. They taught me a lot. It's called the Micah Project, by the way. Check them out. They're pretty cool. And, I got to know those kids and got into teaching. They were teaching me how to teach, and that's kind of where I got my passion for teaching. And I still had a passion for the outdoors. So what I did, after I had done my time there, I actually went out into the rural areas of Honduras, like the mountains and the fields on the border of El Salvador. That region is actually called La Frontera, which translates to the frontier.
Fancy.
Yeah. So we were out there, and I was working with the local pastors out there, just preaching and traveling around, backpacking, helping rebuild churches and things like that. And, so I kind of combined the education and the outdoors there, and was backpacking around and had a really good time and, learned a lot. It really was just formative for me to learn a lot. And, about who I wanted to be and what I wanted my mission to be, and get that training. And so I came back to the States and went to college and got my degree in education, and I got my degree in what's called adventure leadership, which sounds fake, but it's not. Yeah. Basically, it was wilderness guiding major. And so, what it did was just prepare me for a career in outdoor recreation. We got whitewater guide training. We got ACA canoe instructor certified. We had rock climbing instructor training, and all the rest. Wilderness first responder. We got that. We just got the certifications, got the credentials, and got experience leading trips all over the country. We went to New Mexico, Arizona, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, Tennessee. We went everywhere doing trips and learning how to plan and execute trips and all that. And so when I got out, I wanted to combine the two of those things and do what I could to educate people in an outdoor setting. Taking a note from John Dewey, just experiential education is really the way to go, because that's how people learn. When they experience and they feel and they seek and they're able to teach others. That's how people learn. And I wanted, and I still so badly want to do that. In my community. Because like I said, we're so alienated from our neighbors. And I want to take that to my community and be able to do experiential ed and teach people how to be good men and women, men and women of character outside in an outdoor setting. Because, you can't be a person of character if you don't practice it. I want to give them opportunities to practice it. Right.
And you can't just have someone teach you what character is.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, in a lot of my counseling classes, they tell us the majority, the high majority, probably 90%, if not higher, of the things that you will remember and put into practice in your counseling career will be from experiencing counseling.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be as much from what you learned. It's going to be from actually experiencing those things. That's what's going to stick. That's what's going to make you remember. That's what's going to make you learn the most. And all this other stuff is just preparatory, you know, to make you not freak out whenever you actually get into that experience.
Right.
And the same way with building character. Your dad and your mom and others, relatives can tell you all the time, don't bully your sister.
Right.
Don't pester this person. Don't call that kid fat. I remember, on Halloween, I'm walking down the street and this kid had this, army-looking uniform that he, wears to school all the time.
Right.
And, he was wearing that, and I have this, probably awesome Halloween costume on. And I looked at him, and I was like, oh, is that your Halloween costume? And my mom, got mad at me. And she's like, that's not nice to say. He, made me couldn't afford that. Or, couldn't afford anything else. And that's all he had. And that was a key moment of, honestly, a little shaming.
Right.
A little bit. Or just, confronting me a lot.
Right.
And I still remember that to this day. And that was a character building moment where nowadays I don't say that kind of stuff to people, you know?
Right.
But I had to learn it. I had to be in that moment.
I love that because like your mom could have told you probably a million times to be careful with your words, and it's like you don't remember that at all.
Right.
But the one time where you experienced what being careful with your words felt like, you remember that forever.
Yeah. And you know, and that is so important because we talked, I think, on the last episode about like negative reinforcements and positive reinforcements.
Right.
And how how nature can do that to you. And that's the same way with people. Like my mom, she could have like whipped me. She could have like beat me with a belt or something to teach me not to pester my brothers.
Yeah.
Even though my brothers pestered me the most, you know, like because I was the youngest. Like she could have like just like rained down fury on me for those types of things.
Of course.
And I've had those experiences with some people in my life, and I've remembered those. And that's like the wrong way to learn it.
Yeah.
Because some people will live their entire lives a certain way because they had such negative experiences where people just shamed them.
Right.
When they shouldn't have been shamed.
Right.
And they have these crazy ideas in their head because of that. When really, you should do that to people in positive ways, you know, and for positive reasons. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I remember to this day my brother getting on to me for eating multiple grilled cheeses whenever I was in junior high. He was making fun of me because I was fat.
What a specific example.
Yeah, I know. And he was making fun of me because I was the chubbiest of me and my brothers.
All right.
And my oldest brother at the time, he was just like, well, Nick's in wrestling. Because I was trying out wrestling. And he's like, well, Nick's doing wrestling. He needs to eat more, you know? And for one, that was a moment where I realized, oh, that's an excuse I can make for all of my eating. I can just
He gave you an out. He gave you an out.
As long as I'm exercising and working out, I can eat as much as I want is what I thought to myself. It's okay if I eat this ice cream.
Right.
I'm working out. And I still do that to this day. But you know, like luckily my oldest brother defended me in that moment.
Yeah.
Because that could have been a moment where I felt shame. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm fat. I shouldn't be eating what I think I should eat and everything. But, you know, I've had moments where someone has like positively reinforced that idea to me of like, no, you probably shouldn't eat like 20 grilled cheeses.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
It's probably not the best thing for you.
It's not like in a shaming way.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, that's the difference between the words accusation and conviction. Yeah. So like when you accuse somebody of something, it's with a negative connotation where, you know, you're saying you're a bad person for doing this, you know, or you're shaming them, like you said, you know, like, oh, how can you eat that many grilled cheeses? It's making you fat. You're fat. You know, that's an accusation.
Right.
But like if you do it with conviction, you know, it's like, hey man, maybe you shouldn't eat that many grilled cheeseburgers because you want to be a healthier individual. Exactly. You know, and it's like it gives you a positive spin on it. And it's like it's encouraging you to do the right thing instead of punishing you for doing the wrong thing.
Exactly.
You know, that's the difference between the two things. And in educational circles, it's called, you know, positive reinforcement or fostering intrinsic motivation. Yeah. So like, you know, extrinsic motivation is like you get punished physically, you know, in some way for doing the wrong thing. Right. But intrinsic motivation is you want to do the right thing because it feels good, because for the sake of it being the right thing instead of fear of punishment, you know, and I feel like that's key. Yeah. Because, you know, punishment on the extrinsic punishment, you know, I guess it has its place, you know, because, you know, you have to be taught not to touch the hot stove, right? You know, you got to get that experience. But the goal of it needs to be to foster an intrinsic motivation mindset where a person doesn't eat 30 grilled cheeses because they want to, you know, not because they're afraid of punishment or afraid of shame, you know, because they want to do it for themselves. They're intrinsically motivated to do it, you know. That's what we want to do ultimately.
And I think, you know, that's why I love so much that you have that idea and that's how your passion for the outdoors and teaching people stuff about it. I'm glad it's funneled in that idea. Yeah. You know, in that mindset, because there's so many programs where someone will shame another person into doing better in the outdoors or doing something. You know, if someone's trying to rock climb maybe and they're a little overweight, someone might try and shame them into getting up the wall.
Right.
You know, or when they get down because they only made it halfway, they might shame that person.
Right.
You know, and that's a horrible thing to do.
You scaredy cat, you're being afraid, you know, get all the way up there. You know,
exactly.
Like
you think you're going to lose that weight just by going halfway.
Right.
You know, like, that's something someone might say to somebody, and that's just the wrong way to do it.
That's destructive, not constructive.
And for me, with, like, the whole fear of heights thing, I, like, in Yosemite, when I was climbing, I had so many scary moments. I had a moment where I was halfway up a pitch, and I was like, guys, this is going to sound dumb, but I think I'm going to come back down. And they're like, no. They're just like, like, they were like, they didn't say, Nick, you're such a scaredy cat. Or, Nick, you're such a this, or you're such a that. Get up that wall. My wife wasn't like, I'm going to leave you. I want a divorce.
Right.
If you come down that wall, I want a divorce.
I'm out.
She didn't say that. Maybe she was thinking, I don't know. But she didn't say it. You know, instead they were like, no, like, you can do it. You made it up literally halfway. You can go the other half, and it's fine. And yeah, that's what we can do. And I'm so happy that you're that type of person who would do that way.
Well, I'm glad we're on the same page with that.
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel the same way. You know, I feel like that's exactly the way to go. I think people need tough love.
Yeah,
but everyone needs it said in a new way.
Yeah.
Everyone needs it said differently.
Yeah.
I need it said from people who are like, I'm such an easygoing guy. Mm-hmm. I'm such a type of person where a big crisis can come up and I'll instantly see the positives of it.
Yeah.
You know, or like the way out. Yeah. You know, like I get into a car wreck and I'm just like, I didn't really like that car anyways. You know? Or like I hurt my neck or something and I have to like not work for 3 weeks. And I'm like, man, this gives me a great chance to catch up on this thing.
Right.
You know, like I instantly think of the positives instead of thinking about like the debt that I'm in now.
Right. And you see, not everybody's like that. So you have a different approach to everyone.
Exactly. So luckily my wife is the type of person, Katie, she's like, no. Like, this needs to happen. This is that. And she gives me that tough love that I need.
Right.
And she needs to speak to me that way.
But it's in a way you can hear.
Exactly. And she needs to say it in, like, she can say it in, like, a very stern, like, straightforward way.
Yeah.
But in a way that she's not shaming me or putting me down.
Right.
And for her, she does that so much to herself already. She, like, if she does something wrong, she'll instantly shame herself. She instantly tells herself that she's a bad person. So I need to come alongside her and instead say, like, hey, that may not have been, like, the best way to go about it, but you're such a great person that I know you'll do it great next time.
Right.
Like, I know that you're going to do this, or I might not even point out that it was wrong because she's already saying it's wrong, and I'll say, hey, this, that, and the other, like, in an encouraging way.
Yeah, man. And see, that's great that you recognize what the other person needs. And I want to touch on that tough love thing real quick because I think that's a really important thing you brought up, like tough love or brutal honesty. You know, like it's good to tell people the truth and what they need, but the truth doesn't matter if they can't hear it.
Exactly.
You know, so it's like, you know, you can tell somebody like maybe they do need to get up the wall. You know, maybe they do need to work out more or be braver. But the manner in which you say it, that's what matters.
Right.
Because, you know, you can tell them the truth, but if they can't hear it, then it doesn't matter what you told them. You know, it doesn't matter. They can't hear it. So you got to find the vehicle, the method to deliver the truth to that person in a way that they'll receive it and really benefit from it. Yeah. Because you know, you can yell at there, get up the wall, fatty. You know, and it might be true. Like, the fatty does need to get up the wall, you know? But he can't do it. He can't do it if you yell at him like that. You know, that's not the way he's gonna receive it. Right. So, you know, you gotta find the method of delivery that's gonna be beneficial to the person and it's gonna build them up and not tear them down.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, I 100% agree though. Yeah. 100% agree. And I think, and you know, and that's why I have so much faith that you and I are gonna do great at this. Yeah. You know, like I can be pretty egotistical. I can be pretty self-absorbed.
It's confident. Confidence is the word you're looking for.
But I would have to say, like, I do feel very confident that you and I will do great together as like partners. Right. Because we are on that same mindset. And I think that's the mindset that wins ultimately. Right. I think some people can have great success short term by doing that type of stuff, but not in the long term. And whenever I hear like from where you came from to now, and I hear where I came from to now,
Mm-hmm.
I think from here on, I think it's going to be great. Which is why I knew that us doing a podcast together
Right.
could also be great.
Yeah.
Is because I knew we wouldn't have like horrible advice. Like we'll probably look back on ourselves in 10 years at the advice we're giving now or the things we're saying and be like, oh wow, that was so ill-informed. You know? Or like we weren't even close to knowing or understanding. We might talk about marriage right now.
Yeah.
And in 10 years be like, we knew nothing about marriage. Why were we talking and giving advice about that?
I kind of see that as a positive thing, though, because that means that in 10 years I'm going to be grown in such a way that I know better.
And you know what? The only reason I don't care if I say something dumb right now is because I had a teacher in class one day who said, no question is a dumb question or no answer is a dumb answer because if you say it and it is wrong, at least you'll be corrected, and probably 10 other people in the class thought the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And now they learned from it.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't learn by being quiet. You learn by going for something. You know, like that's always how every time I've been humiliated in class by saying something and the teacher's just like, which I've had
so many times.
I'm one of the most talkative people in all my classes. But there's so many people who are quiet who won't learn as much.
Right. Because
they didn't stick their neck out there and risked being embarrassed.
Take the risk.
By saying something.
It's like
by
we
asking
said
a question.
last week, going to the yellow zone. Going out of our green zone into our yellow zone to gain something.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's totally true, man.
Some of those students will be great on tests.
Yeah.
When they can look at everything and just regurgitate stuff.
Right.
But if you have an idea in your head and actually put it out there for the professor to shut down and tell you why it's wrong, you won't get that from a professor if you don't say it. You know? There have been so many ideas that I had that I said, oh, well, what about this?
Yeah.
And they're like, Nick, no. And they're like, and this is why.
Right.
And then I can go away from that being smarter and a little more wise and realizing, oh, that's why it doesn't work. Whereas some students in that class had that same idea, but were not willing to ask about it because they were worried that the professor might think, you know, badly about them.
It might damage their reputation.
Yeah, it might damage their reputation and make them less viable to be a counselor.
Right.
Whereas for me, I just say like, hey, this is what's going on.
Experience
with me.
Is everything.
Exactly. Yeah. If you tell me, if I say my thoughts,
and
you say, you know, because of your thoughts, you're not viable to be a counselor yet, then I'm not viable to be a counselor yet.
Yeah, good thing you know that now.
Good thing I know that now and wasn't just faking it until I got in front of someone and now I have a lawsuit on me because I was an idiot.
Well, see, that tells me that your head's in the right place because, you know, like being a counselor or even like going into any career, like your motivations, like, because I mean, clearly, like if you're not ready to be a counselor, you don't want to be a counselor. Right. You know, and it's like, it's not, I want to be a counselor for me, is I'm doing this so that I can be a good one for other people. Yeah. You know, I want to be a counselor because that's what I think I was made to do. And if I'm not ready, then I don't want to be put in this field yet. You know, I want to wait till I'm ready because I want to give the best service possible. And I think that's great because I think there are some people out there that want to be a counselor regardless if they're ready or not because that's their desired career path for prestige or money or whatever, you know, whatever their motivation is. But, you know, you got to really check your motivations and when you want to do something.
And you know what? And you know what's crazy is that I have those big motivations. Yeah. Like, I desire, because I'm such a... Katie, she showed me this funny thing. If you follow the Enneagram, any personality type, there's always these memes on Instagram or anywhere else where it makes fun of, like, that personality type. Right. And so there's one of me, and I'm a 7, and it shows, like, any other personality type, and it's Woody.
Well, you tell them what a 7 is real quick?
So a 7 is the type of person who's just very, like, enthusiastic, very outgoing, very much of a dreamer, a visionary, someone who just sees the big picture and just goes for it. Our core motivation in life is to have fun and to not feel fear. Right. Not to like really feel some of our emotions. We just want fun in a lot of ways. And so if something isn't fun, we feel like it's going very wrong. If I'm not having fun, I might worry that everyone else is not having fun. Right. And I might even shut myself down so other people can have fun in a certain experience. I want my life to be full of good energy and fun and enthusiasm. And so we can be like very much the like fun, big idea, just talkative, insanely optimistic types of the Enneagram and personality types. And so there's this meme of Woody and Buzz Lightyear. And it's from Toy Story 1, where Buzz has got his arm around Woody. Woody looks dumbfounded, and Buzz is just holding his arm up to the sky as if to say, look at the possibilities.
Right.
Look at the future. And that's me.
Right.
You know, when we started this podcast, I instantly thought, oh my gosh, we could be huge on Instagram. We could be huge on Twitter. Like, someone is going to replicate our ideas for our future business, and we're going to be on like USA Today. Like, we're going to have a book deal at some point because of the stuff that we talk about on here and our like unique program and everything that we have for after school stuff. We're going to like be revolutionaries and ecotherapy, you know, like all this stuff. I instantly have that idea. However, I don't allow myself to get shut down at the same time because of any of my faults.
Right.
You know, like I suck at tests. I just took a midterm recently for my crisis counseling class. I did not do that well on the test.
Right.
You know, especially because I was open and told other students some of my like scoring on the test, and they were like, oh.
You know, it's not a good sign.
Not a good sign. But I was like, but maybe I did great on this essay part that she hasn't graded yet. And despite knowing that I'm not doing that great on some of the testing, I know in my heart that I am a great counselor, that I will be a great counselor. You know, I know it in my heart because of the experience that I'll put in learning all that stuff. And I shouldn't be in this program right now. I did not do well in my grades in my undergrad or in high school. I did not do good on like my GRE test coming in.
Yeah.
In some way, by the grace of God, I've gotten into this program.
Right.
And I know that grace and whatever attitude I've carried with me from here on out and whatever I've learned will get me through it. And I think more people need that going through school. I think more people need to be shown that, hey, just because you didn't do great on this test doesn't mean you're a screw up.
Right.
Like, you can do so great in life. And I think our program eventually, and hopefully this podcast, will be a great way of showing people, like, hey, this is who we are. You know, we weren't the greatest at everything.
Right.
You know, maybe you did great in school and I didn't. But here we are at the same point doing this podcast, trying to start a business together.
Absolutely. I mean, really, you're only limited by what you'll give up.
Exactly.
You know? So, yeah. I mean, you can try your best and fail, but you can try again.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I like that you mentioned that. That's good. Because, yeah, academics is such a specific skill set. Yeah. And just because you're not good at taking tests doesn't mean that you're not going to be good at real life.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people in that same boat, you know? Like, I get tests. I'm fine at taking tests to a certain point. After a certain point, I get, like, test exhaustion and my brain just doesn't work anymore. But, I get that. I get that. And I like going back to earlier what you talked about, you experienced failure and that taught you more, about that. That just goes back to the experiential education of how, experience is the best teacher and so is failure. We can fail at things in life and learn more from those mistakes and those failures than our triumphs even. Because we can get stuck on the emotion with triumphs, not really evaluate how we got there. But with failures, we always evaluate why we failed, if we're conscientious about it. And we end up gaining more, from that. So, I think that's good. That's what we want to teach is experiential ed, man.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do.
No one's ever been a great person by having the greatest life ever.
Right. Right.
Only the greatest people have been great because they had a horrible life at times.
Well, there's truth to the saying that adversity breeds character.
Yes.
There's truth to that where struggle can really develop a person or really crush a person. Yeah. It depends on their personality, depends on how they take it. But and the mentors and the guiding hands that bring them through it, because like people that have gone through great struggle, if they have a good support system, well, they're much more equipped to come out of that struggle positively than those who don't. And we want to, in a program, we want to put students in situations of positive stress, but also have those guiding mentor hands that are going to bring them out of their, presumably they're going to fail at a lot of things that we ask them to do, but they're going to learn from those failures and, through encouragement and conviction instead of accusation and through fostering of intrinsic motivation, hopefully they're going to come out of those failures a better person through learning from their mistakes and trying better next time. That's what we want. That's the goal. So
Right.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I highly agree, man.
Yeah.
Wow. I wonder how long we've been.
We've been going for a while now.
I have a thing on here that can show us the time instead of like the
Oh yeah, we probably should look at that.
49.
49 minutes.
Oh, wow,
All right. Well,
almost an hour.
we should start wrapping this up here pretty
All right.
soon.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe we can. So, we've said who we are in a way, at least in ways I guess that matter.
Yeah.
I would say that we should talk about our wives,
Yeah.
but I think it would be awesome to just get them on the podcast with us.
That'd be better.
Yeah, and let them describe themselves as
Yeah.
well, and whatnot.
That would be better.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. We've talked about things that we believe. We haven't really gone into our backgrounds and lives and trainings that whole much. And, I'm sure that's in writing somewhere. You can look that up somewhere. But on this podcast, I think we're more interested in talking about what we believe and what we think more than anything else. But, and in later ones, we'll talk about some of our experiences that we've had out in the wilderness and stories that we can tell, and I know that this might not have been the most entertaining one because we're talking about things that we believe. But hey, if you agree with us, if you disagree with us, both of those, that's fine. Let us know. We love dialogue, we love discussion, and as you can tell, we're decently reasonable people without any radical, crazy viewpoints that we've talked about yet.
That I haven't admitted yet.
Yeah, have yet to be disclosed.
Yeah.
So, but yes, we're free to hearing different points of view and discussing things together. And as me and Nick have always been very open about what we think, and we have a lot of conflicting viewpoints here and there about our philosophy on different things, and especially some of our religious beliefs too, and that's fine because I love hearing what Nick thinks and he loves hearing what I think, and we like the possibility of entertaining what the other person thinks. And I think that I forget the philosopher that said it. It's a Greek dude, but said that the mark of an intelligent person is the ability to entertain an idea or a thought without fully accepting it. And I think that that's so true, that when we're talking, especially people who disagree with us, we need to be able to entertain what they think and understand why they think that way without fully accepting it, unless there's evidence to do so.
And I love to entertain.
Oh, yes, you do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, dude, I'm super excited about the stuff we're going to talk about in the future. I've already got a ton of ideas, even more so running around in my head.
Absolutely.
I would like to close by telling you guys that you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Burrito Podcast. Just BEARITO Podcast. That's how you can find us. Send us messages through the DMs. You can also email us at bearburritopodcast@gmail.com if you want to do that. We'd love to hear your guys' suggestions, any ideas that you have for what we could talk about on the podcast. We want to make this as interactive with you all as possible, especially because we're just starting off with the podcast. We could actually interact with some of you instead of some of these humongous podcasts where they just have people working for them responding to stuff. So please tell us things. We'd love to hear back from you guys.
Absolutely, yeah. We appreciate anybody who's listening, and we're just having fun out here and hope you guys had fun with us. But yeah, we will be looking forward to talking about more in the future, whatever it is, as it relates to the outdoors and our outdoors experiences, our outdoors professional development and all of that, and education as well. And, if you want to ask Nick, also things that relate to, psychiatry, counseling, whatever, he's trained in that. So
I'm pretty much an expert.
We're pretty much an expert. But yeah, we look forward to just talking about all sorts of nonsense in the future.
All right, guys. Anyways,
Stay saucy.
Stay saucy.
Stay saucy. That's good.
Put the sauce on it. I don't know. Bye.